This is a SnapEd New York video presentation.
Hello everyone, my name is Wendy Beckman and I'm a registered dietitian with the New York State Office for the Aging and SnapEd New York. Thanks for joining me today on What's Cooking with NYSOFA. Today I'm going to be making zucchini and tomatoes. This is a great recipe for the growing season when we have lots of fresh zucchini and tomatoes available. We will be posting the link to the recipe below, and the recipe can also be found on the SnapEd New York website at www.snapedny.org. Before we get into the recipe, let's look at my plate. This recipe covers the fruits and vegetables section of my plate. You want to make half your plate fruits and vegetables at each meal. My plate is a graphic representation of what our plates should look like every time we sit down to eat. I know you've heard me say before that all forms of fruits and vegetables count. Fresh, frozen, canned, and dried can all be used to make half your plate fruits and vegetables. With this recipe, I'm going to use fresh zucchini, but I'm also going to use canned tomatoes. Sometimes using canned or frozen vegetables can cut down on the amount of cutting and preparation that you need to do. Whether it's to save time or cutting vegetables is difficult for you, using convenience foods like canned and frozen items can help to make it easier to incorporate more vegetables into your diet. Don't feel like you always have to use fresh vegetables. Of course, if you have a garden or if you have a local farmer's market that you like to visit often during the summer months, there's plenty of fresh zucchini to choose from. If you want to use canned or frozen vegetables, look for low sodium varieties and look for frozen vegetables without any sauces or butter already added. This can help you to cut down on the sodium and fat in your diet. Remember that everything you eat and drink over time matters. You want to find your healthy eating style and maintain it for a lifetime. The right mix can help you be healthier now and in the future. So let's start making this recipe. Remember to wash your hands with soap for at least 20 seconds or use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer before you start cooking. Let's look at the ingredients for this recipe. This recipe makes 4 servings, and that's what I have here, so I'm going to tell you what the recipe calls for. You easily could cut the recipe in half and make only 2 servings. Now, each serving is about 1 cup with 89 calories per serving. This recipe is a good source of fiber. The zucchini is a good source of vitamins A and C, and some B vitamins like vitamin B6 and folate. Tomatoes are also high in vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin K, and the mineral potassium. Like most vegetables, zucchini and tomatoes are low in calories and high in fiber and water. These foods can help to regulate your digestion and they can help you to feel full longer. So let's look at the ingredients. This recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of butter. You could use olive oil or vegetable oil if you wanted to. You need a 1/4 cup of onions chopped, 1 clove of garlic chopped, or you can use fresh or canned garlic, whatever you have on hand. You need a pound of zucchini. It comes out to about 4 cups chopped, and that means that you probably need 3 to 4 zucchinis depending on the size of them. Now, I like to leave the skins on the zucchini, but if you wanted to get fancy, you could remove some of the skin with a vegetable peeler. You can just go down the sides and make sort of stripes on them and then chop them up to make them look a little prettier. You also need 2 tomatoes peeled and diced, or 1 16-ounce can of diced tomatoes that's been drained, and that's what I have right here. Again, when you're looking for canned anything, any kinds of vegetables, look for low sodium varieties and drain them well. So these are the canned tomatoes, so I don't have to chop those up. You also need a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, black pepper to taste, and 1 teaspoon of sugar. So the first thing we need to do is to melt the butter in the pan. So we're going to put that in here now, and you can see that it's starting to sizzle up already. So butter is an animal product, obviously. It comes from cows, from milk, and those types of things, a lot of animal products, can be higher in saturated fat. So you do want to limit saturated fat in your diet. That can help to cut down on things like risk of heart disease. But using a little bit of butter here and there and using it in moderation is also okay. If you didn't want to use butter in this recipe, like I said, olive oil or vegetable oil is going to just work just the same. So we're going to let that cook. You don't want to let it get too hot so it gets brown or that it burns, okay? So next we're going to add the onions and the garlic. So I'm going to put the garlic in first. There's a little bit there. And there you can smell. See that? That is starting to bubble up already. And then the onions. All right. Garlic and onions always smell amazing. Everyone will be wondering what you're cooking in your house when you have this going. So you want to mix this together and cook it for about 5 to 7 minutes or until it's tender. You might not even have to cook it that long depending on how hot your burner is. But remember that if you chop your onions up into smaller pieces, they're going to cook quicker. And you just keep cooking them until they look a little more translucent or a little bit more see-through. And these are starting to look pretty good. You may have to turn your heat down. You can see here the butter's getting a little bit brown. And so I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit on that. Okay, so next we're going to add the zucchini, the tomatoes, and the seasoning. So zucchini first. That's going to take a little bit longer to cook than the tomatoes, of course, because the tomatoes, since they're canned tomatoes, right, they've already been cooked a little bit before they were canned. So I'm just going to mix that up and make sure that we get some of the butter and some of the onions and the garlic all coated all over that zucchini. That is looking pretty good. All right. And now I'm going to add the tomatoes. So I did drain as much liquid out of these as I could. There's still a little bit more in there, but that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to put the rest of the can in. This was one 16-ounce can of low sodium tomatoes. And really that's it other than the seasonings, right? It's called zucchini and tomatoes for a reason. That's what's in here. But this could be a really nice quick side dish in the summer months, especially like I said, when we have so much fresh zucchini and so many fresh tomatoes available to us. I'm going to turn the heat back up again. It's sort of cooled down a little bit from the liquid in the tomatoes. So we're going to let that go. And then we're going to add, this is the salt. And you can add as much or as little as you want. Pepper to taste, again, as little or as much as you want. And a teaspoon of sugar. There we go. But now we're going to mix that up again and see if we can get that to heat up a little bit more. So another thing that I can show you is I want to show you how to cut your zucchini. We're going to let this stay on the heat for a little bit longer. You can put a cover on it and that can help to soften everything up a little bit quicker, but we're going to do a little bit of some cutting here on the zucchini. So first you want to cut the ends off of the zucchini. And we'll put those away. And then what I like to do is cut it in half and then cut it in half again. So that is pretty much in quarters. So you're going to keep your fingers away from the blade. All right. We're going to cut that in half again. So it's in quarters. And do that again. And when we do that, that's going to make it so that the zucchini cuts a little bit faster. It's starting to bubble up a little bit there, so that's good. And so when you're cutting, again, keep your fingers away from the blade. You want to curl your fingers away from the blade and then go ahead and cut nice and firmly and make sure that you get all the way through the zucchini. And I have told you all before that using a sharp knife is actually safer than using a dull knife. If you have a dull knife, you may tend to put more pressure on the knife than you need to because it won't cut as much as you want. And then sometimes the more pressure you put, it can slip and you can then cut yourself that way. So make sure that your knives are nice and sharp and then respect how sharp they are and make sure you keep your fingers out of the way. All right, and that's the end of that zucchini. All right, that looks pretty good. And here you can see that this zucchini mixture in the pan is bubbling nicely. And I'm going to put some of this in a dish for you to see what it looks like. So let's see what we have here. That looks nice and colorful. The red and the green is always so nice. And I can smell the onions and the garlic, and it smells just delicious. So that's what that looks like when it's all done. And I think that this recipe comes together pretty quickly. And especially if you use the canned tomatoes, that's less cutting that you have to do. So I hope that this recipe gave you some more ideas on how to incorporate more vegetables into your diet. Don't forget to join me next month when I share more tips on how to save time, save money, and eat healthy. In July, I'll be making pasta with roasted vegetables, which is another great recipe for the summer months when we have more local fruits and vegetables to choose from. Join us on Friday, July 28th at 12:30 p.m. right here on the New York State Office for the Aging Facebook page and the New York State Office for the Aging YouTube channel. This presentation was funded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. This institution is an equal opportunity provider. Have a great day and stay safe out there.
Thank you for joining us today. We know the healthy choice isn't always the easiest choice, but small changes can make a big difference. Start today by getting involved with SNAP-Ed New York. This program is free for those who qualify or receive SNAP benefits. We want to help you save time, save money, and eat healthy. Learn how SNAP-Ed can make a difference in your life. For more information and to find your local program, visit snapedny.org. This material is funded by USDA's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. SNAP. This institution is an equal opportunity provider.
Hi, I'm registered dietitian Wendy Beckman, host of What's Cooking with NYSOFA. Over the past 2 years, I've had the opportunity to share healthy, nutritious recipes with you on the show. I work for the New York State Office for the Aging, and thanks to a partnership with SNAP-Ed New York, our nutrition team reaches hundreds of thousands of older New Yorkers each year. So why a cooking program? 60% of health costs and related issues have nothing to do with health, but instead have to do with individual behaviors like our food choices and physical activity. The recipes we feature are nutritionally appropriate for older adults, meeting critical nutrition requirements for healthy aging. What I bet you don't know is that this show is only part of a larger effort. To help me explain what our nutrition team at the New York State Office for the Aging does and what a registered dietitian is, here is registered dietitian Lisbeth Irish.
A registered dietitian is a professional who has training and education in food and nutrition. To become an RD, you must complete certain requirements, including a minimum of a bachelor's degree from an institution that's accredited by the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. You must also pass a national examination and meet continuing education requirements. What does that mean? As RDs, we are qualified to offer accurate advice about nutrition, and we can help answer your questions about how diet can affect your health. At NYSOFA, the registered dietitians handle many tasks. This includes hosting 2 online programs aimed at helping older New Yorkers make better nutrition choices. These programs are What's Cooking with NYSOFA, which is our monthly cooking demonstration, and a Facebook Live program that I host called Ask the Experts, Nutrition Edition. In the months ahead, be on your lookout for it. We'll be sharing your questions and our experts' answers about nutrition and health. New episodes of Ask the Experts Nutrition Edition debut the second Friday of each month on Facebook and YouTube.
As Lisbeth explained, registered dietitians at NYSOFA handle many tasks, including food safety at congregate meal sites, educational materials, and outreach. In the meantime, please don't miss an episode of either show produced by our team, What's Cooking with NYSOFA and Ask the Experts Nutrition Edition. Every episode is uploaded to YouTube, and you'll find the archived shows there.
Do you have a question about foods? Or do you have a particular health issue that you'd like to improve by changing your diet? Tune in to Ask the Experts Nutrition Edition every second Friday at 1 p.m. We'd love to hear from you.
Remember, registered dietitians are the experts in nutrition. Visit for more sound advice about eating healthy on a budget.